Balogun Balogun is going to be available today after having his red card rescinded over the weekend. President Trump today said he called President Infantino of FIFA and asked for a review of Balogun's red card. You can hear Belgium and the U.S. men's national team live here on Rip City Radio 620, your home of the World Cup. Our coverage starts at 4:30 with the game starting at 5 o'clock. From the NBA, Jay Triano has been added to the Trailblazers staff as an assistant. Now, Triano and Mike Honore worked together in Toronto, and Triano was an assistant to Terry Stotts during Dame's first 4 years in the NBA. Rui Hachimura is staying in Los Angeles, but he's switching teams. He signed a 2-year deal worth $28 million with the Clippers. The Kings have cut DeMar DeRozan to save money, which means DeRozan can now sign with any team as a free agent. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
Emery, only man there, able to steer it to Adams, flicks it along Tillman. He's got Balogun making a run off him. Can he get around to that ball? To the deflection, Balogun scores! Slow Balogun, first to react to the deflection. He'll do the LeBron celebration. It's 1-0 U.S. Tillman!
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
I had to let that song play out just a bit. It's national, unless, of course, you're a communist. The U.S. men's national team, unless, of course, you're a communist. The U.S. men's national team will take on Belgium coming up at 5 o'clock. Our coverage here on Rip City Radio 620 will start at 4:30. So, courtesy to Michael Shacker, he's the one that came up with the idea. He's like, you know what, with the soccer game starting at 4:30, you should come on early. So I decided to come on early, and fortunately was able to work across town after dropping my daughter off at her boyfriend's grandparents' house. I've been doing a lot of that lately, and there was a wreck on I-5, which caused a bit of a stoppage on 205, but I was able to work around the traffic and get here to the station on time. So I'm happy to be here. And if you want to jump on board, you know how it works. Anything you want to talk about is fine by me. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. Now, I can only, speak of the guys that I've talked to, some of my buddies, and the majority of my friends are kind of in the same boat. We're going to watch the U.S. men's national team take on Belgium, and I've watched the U.S. men's national team throughout the World Cup, but I'm still a little bit behind when it comes to understanding the game. I'm not a big soccer fan, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to do a better job of understanding the rules, and I was very happy to see that Balogun had his red card lifted. I know people are upset because Trump got involved, and there are people that can't handle that, but it was a red card that should not have been handed out in the first place. So I'm just happy that you're going to have the U.S. men's national team at full strength at this level of play, whether it's football, soccer, baseball, basketball. You want the best players to be available, and that's what we're going to have today, which is pretty cool. So if you got any thoughts on World Cup, I know I do have some soccer fans out there. If you have any insight that you can share with me on this game and this matchup tonight, how difficult of a matchup is Belgium for the U.S. men's national team? 503-248-0620. I enjoyed the long 4th of July holiday weekend, had a chance to spend time with family, had a chance to play a ton of golf. I have been on a constant golf circuit of late. I was out at Heron Lakes. I played 36 holes, the green and the blue, late last week. I was out at Forest Hills yesterday. I think I might have been the first guy to tee off. I got done in 2 hours and 53 minutes. That was terrific. And I was back at Heron this morning. I also played in a golf tournament with Mark Mackey and a couple of good friends in this four-man scramble that kicked off at 7:30. We started on hole 15, a little shotgun start, and that was a great time too. I think there were 30 total teams who participated, about 120 players. You know, usually with the scramble tournament, when you go into it, you know it's going to take a long period of time, meaning 5 hours or so, but we got done in like 4 hours and 2 minutes, and we teed off at 7:30. That's when the tournament started, and it turned out to be a great day. The weather was spectacular. Not too hot, not too cold. And by the time we got done, right around, the noon hour, the sun came out and it was beautiful. I got some good pictures up there. Wildwood is one of the more beautiful, picturesque type courses in the area because it's sitting up there on the mountainside. So you got the trees, very lush and green. The course is in great condition. We had a great time with that, and that was a lot of fun. And then after that, was able to go back home and take a little nappy. And then my daughter is still at the age where she wants to experience some explosives. So we did go down and purchase a little bit of fireworks. So my apologies to anyone else in the neighborhood. We contributed to the noise pollution. And it sounded like World War III up until about 3 or 4 in the morning. I've never heard anything like it. In all the 4th of Julys I can remember, I guess our nation's 250th birthday, everyone was geeked up and getting after it. And so we fired ours off. And then the rest of the night, I just comforted Puppy shots. He was gripping throughout the entire night. I gave him some puppy marijuana of sorts to help him relax. He had a couple of other sedatives, and he made it through the night and was able to survive. But, man, it was loud. I couldn't believe it. Thunders and lightning throughout the entire night. Now, I saw some video online. I don't know if it was up to date or if maybe it was dating back to the COVID period, but they showed an aerial view of LA County down in Los Angeles where they had banned fireworks. That ban, needless to say, did not work very well. In every direction of the night sky, there were people lighting off fireworks like every second of every minute of every hour for an extended period of time. Incredible. So I had a great 4th of July, had a chance to enjoy some good food, hang out with the family, got to play a lot of golf, and so it was terrific. Now, I waited throughout the course of the entire weekend hoping and praying to the good Lord above that the Blazers would put together that next move that we thought was coming after the situation with Ja Morant, but so far they've done nothing. And just give you a quick recap on what I think about the trade. The trade for Ja Morant really fits, I think, what we have seen, the Joe Cronin model, where he has done a great job in all of his trades, and some of his best work has been in the trade market, being able to make deals and get incredible value in return. And if you look at what the Blazers got in return, they got Ja Morant. They were able to unload the Jeremy Grant contract, which was an albatross, and Chris Murray. Did not have to attach any picks, and in return they get Ja Morant, who's got a lot of upside and a 2-time All-Star and a guy with a lot of ability. So you get Ja Morant in return, and you unload the Jeremy Grant contract along with Chris Murray, so you get great value in that trade. But when you look at the deal itself and, Ja Morant on this team with the way the roster's put together right now, it just doesn't appear to be a good fit. But again, I'm not a basketball genius. I'm not a guy that draws up X's and O's for an NBA team, but I don't see how it works. And what are you going to do, play him and Dame together? You're going to start Dame and Ja together? That could create some defensive liabilities. So I don't see the fit, but I understand the value. And I think that that's something that Joe Cronin has done a great job of during his time on the job. Now, he has done a couple of moves, previous where he was trying to unload money because the Blazers were strapped with the salary cap. And those are sometimes moves you make through the direction of ownership. So you make those moves. But for the most part, even when you look at the Dame trade and the fact that he got Dame back, I mean, the Blazers have done a good job of, really getting good value in return. And if you look at what he's got to work with, the Milwaukee Buck picks that he got back, those picks are of high value. And so the Blazers are still in a terrific position with draft capital, very valuable picks with the Milwaukee Bucks. They still have players under contract that can be moved. So they've got a lot of pieces to work with. But the question is, of course, what's next? What is the next move? And are they eyeing something? Are they negotiating or working on something in particular, but they're just waiting for the price to come down or waiting for the right opportunity to strike? And that's what we're going to have to wait and see. So that's really my assessment. Great value in return. Great job of unloading that Jeremy Grant contract. But the fit, at least through my eyes, I don't see it. I don't understand how Ja Morant fits into the current roster construction when you already have Dame, Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. Now you add Ja. That's 5 guards. And then you got Denny Avdia, who is your number one and best facilitator from last year, who needs the ball in his hands. So I don't know how that works. Like, I don't see the fit myself, but the value in return was great. So I think you got to look at Joe Cronin. If he's going to make a move based on track record, he's not going to make a move and sacrifice a bunch of valuable assets and not get value in return. It doesn't mean that he's not going to go out and, pursue someone like Trey Murphy III, but he's not going to take a loss in terms of what he deems to be valuable. That's just not going to happen. That's not his MO. So we continue to wait, and there's still plenty of time. We're here at the beginning of July, so there's plenty of time left for the Blazers to be able to make a move. I was very happy to see Jay Triano added to the staff. This was the guy that the Godfather Dwight James did not name by name, but mentioned that there could be a big get for the coaching staff. Jay Triano is a guy that brings a wealth of experience. He's someone that's got great connection with Mike Inori, the Blazers' new head coach. They worked together in Toronto. When Triano was elevated to head coach, he made Mike Inori his lead assistant, which is terrific. And then after that, he gets a chance to get his first head coaching opportunity in Portland, and now he brings Triano back. Now, Triano also has a great connection with Dame because he was here, I think it was 2012 to 2016, working for Terry Stotts as an assistant. So he was in town during Dame's first 4 years in the NBA. So I like that. I like the connection. Obviously, Mike Inori is someone that has great relationships around the NBA. We've talked about that and the way he connects with people, how well respected he is by his peers and the people he's worked with in the past. And I mentioned this before, even with the uniqueness of his contract that was given to him by the Blazers, I didn't fear him not being able to land quality assistants because when you're a guy like Micah who is beloved and has good relationships, it enables you to be able to go out and people will take a chance to work with you because they value you as the individual, even if the contract situation right now is year to year. Because they're betting on Micah. They know what type of guy he is and what type of coach he has proven to be as an assistant, and they believe in him getting his first opportunity as head coach. And so you come in, you take a chance, things work, and then boom, the contract situation and status will change. So I'm excited about Mike Inori. But Jay Triano, it's nice to have a guy, and we know this from seeing Chauncey Billups and others, don't know yet. It's one thing to be an assistant, but when you make that jump to head coach, all of a sudden, it's one thing to be an assistant, but when you make that jump to head coach, all of a sudden you realize, like, this is not an assistant's job. There's a lot more that comes with it. And guys like Triano can help him through that process. This would appear to be a remake of Simon and Garfunkel. 503-248-0620. If you're out there and you want to chat, whatever is on your mind, you can fire away. And if you're a soccer fan and you can shed some light on tonight's matchup, help me and give us an idea of what type of matchup Belgium is for the U.S. men's national team. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'll also get into the latest on Trey Murphy III and what the Blazers may be looking for there. You got the Rip City Drive. I'm Chad Doing. This is your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Boy, nice pull from Michael Shacker. Lenny Kravitz, this dates all the way back to 1991 from his second studio album, Mama Said. And I know that because my first job was 1991 at Red Robin over by Vancouver Mall. And in the back of the house where I was stuck and slaving away in the dish pit, they had the Muzak working where it was the same songs on repeat. And it was great because most of the songs that were played were ones that I approved of for my personal enjoyment. But this one was played over and over and over again. But we bonded, me and my buddy Aaron. That was one of the best coworkers I've ever had. He was my buddy back in the dish pit back in the day at Red Robin. We liked the same music. We liked some of the same things, but we would take it every Friday and Saturday night as a personal challenge when all the dishes and everything from the kitchen got loaded up on our table. And it was like a mountain of work, and we would grind through and get it done. And then with those days, one of the managers would come through at the end of the night, usually around 2:30, 3 in the morning, whenever we were done cleaning everything, because it wasn't just about cleaning the dishes and putting everything back, but our entire work area, workstation had to be clean. The floors mopped, the walls wiped, everything had to look spotless before they closed at night. And so the manager would always come through for the inspection. And so we tried to do everything perfectly to make sure that we weren't asked to do anything again and again. But, man, that was some hard work. I remember those nights, even as a youngster, a teenager, getting home from work at like 3 in the morning and just crashing out and sleeping. And don't you love that feeling of when you put in a good day's work? Maybe it could be at the office or whatever your job is, or it could be yard work. But after you put in a long day of, activity and you have that satisfaction of a job well done and your body's tired, I love those nights where you lie down and you just put your head on the pillow and the rest takes care of itself. You don't have to think about falling asleep. You don't worry about the process. It just happens naturally and quickly. I hate those nights where you have too much on your mind, or maybe the temperature's not proper, you're hot, you're restless, and you're just lying there and you can't fall asleep. I hate that type of misery. So I like it when a job's well done and the body is fatigued and you fall asleep nicely. All right, Rip City Drive on early today because we have the U.S. men's national team and Belgium coming up. The game's going to start at 5. Coverage will start at 4:30, so I'll be with you up until 4:30 today. I want to give a big shout-out to my friend Seth Hoyland, who is part of the Hillsboro Hops. He's a terrific human being and one of the nicest people I know in the business, but he got me and Travis Demers set up for the Hops game yesterday, and we went out to Hillsboro, first pitch at 1:05. We were sitting in the club area, section 207. And if you haven't sat in the club area yet, if you've been out to a game and have not been in the club area, I'd recommend you try it because it was awesome. So you're in the club area. You have access to the club room where they have open seating. They've got a bar with anything you could possibly want to drink. And it's all inclusive with the ticket. So you get a great section to sit in that had covering from the rooftop, so we were in the shade the entire time, and it was a warm one yesterday, sunny and hot, but we're in the shade and it was comfy. I took my daughter, Kaylee went with me, and then Travis brought his 2 boys, and I think they're 6 and 8 now. Just another little reminder of, hey, you're getting older, Chad, because now his boys are growing. But we're all sitting there in section 207, but you have access to the food, and they had a great spread. Yesterday, the options were built around the breakfast burrito. So you have these gigantic tortillas, and then they had 3 different types of fillings for the burrito. So you could choose egg with crumbled up sausage. You could go egg with crumbled up bacon, or they had some type of special Mexican egg dish that you could fill up and put inside your tortilla. And then they had other topping stations and stuff you could fill up on. They had New England clam chowder if you wanted some soup. They had a dessert bar. They also had 3 different styles of wieners. So if you wanted to go dog, you could go dog. And then all these other beverages, whether they be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever the case may be, you get to go up and you can have whatever you want to drink. And it's all part of the package with the club. And so my daughter thought it was awesome. She just loves the idea of being able to go and help yourself and be able to eat whatever you want. And so the spread was terrific. They also had, like a cheese board, so you could have these different types of delicate cheeses. They had some crackers and nuts, different dried fruits and fresh fruit. So anything you could possibly imagine was there. And so we kicked back and watched the game. And in the outfield area, it's like the family zone. So they've got this great area with like the field turf grass with a playground. And so Travis took his boys out there. They got a little bit restless just sitting in the seats. So they went out to the outfield area and played for several innings and had a chance to hang out. But I'm just telling you that it's pretty remarkable when you drive up, to that area. Coming from Vancouver, I took the Cornelius Pass exit, and then even driving in because, the stadium is not gigantic like, you would experience for a Seahawks game or a Mariner game. So getting into the parking lot was simple. Getting out was not a hassle. And you just walk up and you're just taking it all in and looking at the different scenes around the stadium. It's really impressive what Kale and his team was able to put together there. The whole setup, the food options, the detail with the decorations and the way they've got the stadium set up. And really, no matter where you're at, there's not a bad seat in the house. So I encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, go out and check out a Hops game. What a beautiful gym this is just right outside of the city. And, even from Vancouver, the traffic was perfect yesterday because people were still on hiatus for their 4th of July, weekends, their long weekends. So we zipped out to Hillsborough from North Vancouver in like 35 minutes. So the traffic was good, but the whole setup was nice. And that entire staff, they make you feel like you're at home. So big props to Seth Hoyland, great guy. The entire staff with the Hops is terrific, and the stadium really is a crown jewel. It's awesome. It's so cool that they got that done. And my guess would be that in the near future, they're going to be able to challenge to become AAA, which would give them access to even better players and more interesting things to see. But we'll see how it all plays out. But it was a good reminder of, what we're battling for right now with the Trailblazers, right? Having sports is great for the community. Having a ballpark to go to, having a place to go and enjoy time with your friends or your family. And then, of course, I remember all the different events I've been to at Moda Center and how important that is. So, again, I had someone reach out to me last week, like, what can I do? How can I help? How can I assist? Reach out to your local officials, your local politicians, and let them know that you want this deal with new owner Tom Dundon to get done so Moda Center can get the renovations that are necessary, which will bring a long-term lease to keep the Blazers in place where they belong right here in Rip City. That's what it's all about. But I love sports and just getting a chance to hang out at the ballpark. Really, what the Hops ballpark feels like, it feels like a major league ballpark. I've been to a lot of different minor league ballparks. I've never been to one quite like that because it's brand new, because they put so much thought and effort into the construction and the detail, the service, and the way everything's set up. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's really awesome. So get out there and check it out. And don't forget, every Tuesday throughout the entire baseball season, we do Hops Ticket Tuesday, and we give away a 4-pack of tickets so you can sit in the Rip City Radio row and get a chance to enjoy some baseball. And so we do that usually around 5 o'clock every Tuesday. So I'm just encouraging you to get out there and check it out. It was fun. And it was great to see Trav. I see him all the time during the Blazers season, but once the season ends, he's doing this and I'm doing that, and we don't get to see each other as much. But it was cool to be able to hook up and connect at the baseball game yesterday. Your telephone number here is 503-248-0620. I'll be with you up until 4:30 today, and then we'll kick it over to our World Cup coverage with the U.S. men's national team taking on Belgium. And if there's any soccer fans out there, look, I'm not going to pretend to be some type of, soccer guru. I'm not. I'm a novice. But I do like watching anytime there's, countries that are battling in sport, I'm always going to jump on the U.S. bandwagon. And the U.S. men's national team, this is the best one probably of my lifetime, but they've got a chance to do something special. And so tonight's game is going to be fun. But for you soccer fans out there, ones who really understand the game, how good of a chance does the U.S. men's national team have of advancing past Belgium? And how difficult is that matchup going to be? And if you have detail on Fowler and Balogun's having his red card rescinded, what does that mean? I know he's one of their best players, but how big of a deal is that in terms of determining the outcome of the game tonight. So you can jump on board 503-248-0620. If you got any thoughts on where the Blazers are at, I'm a little surprised by the radio silence. I would have thought after the Morant trade went down that was the setup for the next deal, but so far crickets. So what does that mean? And how are you assessing that? I know I'm trying to figure it out, only because I don't understand the fit with the way the roster is put together right now. And I just thought there would be another move, coming, or one that would have already happened. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, what's the ultimate plan here? Or was it just a case of, hey, we need to get off this Grant contract, and we're going to be able to do it without attaching a pick, and we're getting great value in return? And because that's the type of moves that Joe has been great at, is making a trade, not getting hosed, and getting, great value in return. He's done that throughout his tenure as general manager of the Trailblazers. So I like to see that kind of stuff. So we wait, we hope, and we'll have to see what happens. Now with Trey Murphy III, according to various reports, it sounds like New Orleans has been seeking 4 first-round picks. And so I do think the Blazers have an opportunity. The most recent report said the Blazers are not knee-deep in the pursuit of Murphy at the time being. It doesn't mean they won't be, but my guess would be that the Blazers would have interest. But again, it's just a matter of that price tag coming down. So if it's not 4 first-round picks, can they make it happen for 2? And which combination of picks is it? The great thing about the Blazers and where they sit in the trade market with those Milwaukee Bucks picks that they have, those are high-valued picks. And so the Blazers have the flexibility and the power to be able to go out there and make something happen. Trey Murphy III is someone that I would enjoy on this team because I think he'd be a fit. We talk about Ja Morant, maybe not being a great fit based on his skill set. Doesn't mean he still can't, be a great player. But I think for skill set, Trey Murphy III would be a near perfect fit because he's got length. He fits a position of need, but most importantly, he shoots the 3 ball at a high percentage. So someone that can really, stretch the defense and be a dead-eye shooter, which is probably their biggest need. So I think if you look at the Blazers' needs right now, it's pretty obvious, right? They've got a whole gaggle of guards. They got plenty of guards. They're secure and set at the center position after re-signing Rob Will and getting some work done in free agency. The question is, what about forwards? Because they got rid of 2 of them in Chris Murray and Jeremy Grant. And the weird part is that they need a player like Jeremy Grant right now. But that's really what their pursuit should be, is wing players. Guys who can shoot, guys who can defend, because right now you've got 2 legit forwards in Toumani Camara and Deni Avdija. Now, I know Camara struggled with the shot in the series against the Spurs, but the great thing about Camara, what I love most about him, is he's continuing to work hard, and I think he's got the potential to become a better offensive player, but defensively, he's legit. His competitive desire at the point of attack, like he wants that great challenge of taking on the other team's best offensive player. He'll engage on that end. He'll get after it defensively. He'll be aggressive, but he can also defend multiple spots on the floor. And in some cases, we've seen him defend the 5. So really, he is a positionless player because he can defend all 5 spots. I think the Godfather was talking to us about that. But that's exciting to me. But outside of Avdija and Camara, where are the other forwards at? I don't put Sidi Sissoko in a real – I don't classify him as a big member of the squad because he was playing out of necessity last year. It doesn't mean I don't like Sissoko and the energy he brings to the floor, but they need something better than that. Sissoko's a great story, but he's not as important to the team as someone like Camara or Deni Avdija. Someone that's got more tools to work with. So that's where I'm at. But Trey Murphy III would be great. I think he's still got 3 years of team control with his current contract, which is reasonably priced. And he's only 26 years of age. He just turned 26. So he's young. He's got years of team control left on his contract. He can shoot the 3. He's got length and would probably be a good fit. But that price tag, if it is at 4 picks still, 4 first-rounders, it's going to have to come down because Joe Cronin will execute a deal, but he's going to want to get that value. He's not going to take a net loss on a trade. That's just not how he operates. So there you have it. But I do like the addition of Triano. If you're just joining me, Jay Triano has joined the Trailblazer staff. He was here in Portland, first 4 years of Dame's time, his tenure in Portland when he came into the NBA. and he and Micah Nori have a great connection. They worked together in Toronto. And then when Triano took that coaching job, Nori was his top assistant. And from what I've been told from Dwight and others, one thing that Nori's really good at, even Jason Quick talked about this with us, his advanced scouting reports, the way he writes the reports, his detailed knowledge of different teams around the league, players, his understanding of the fundamentals. It's part of what really makes him great at coming up with different schemes, different plays, because he's a technician when it comes to those type of things. And that's what I'm excited about is in some of the areas where the Blazers may have been a little bit weak last year with their coaching situation, Nori's going to tighten things up. And I think that will really show up in maybe the postseason with, those detailed scouting reports, but also coming out of a timeout, late game situations, drawing up a play to get the ball in bounds and get it to the right guy for the right shot. And I think the other thing we're going to see here is, the Blazers are going to be a little more focused on who's going to get the majority of the shots. Like every player will have a defined shot diet, right? Meaning you want your best shooters to be taking the majority of the shots. Sidi Sissoko should not be attempting as many threes as Dame, for example. Like you want those numbers to be balanced out, and you want your best shooters to get the majority of the shots. And I think we're going to see some changes in detail with that. But Micah Nori, the more I hear about him, the more excited I am. Now, I have talked to another individual, and this is something I've got over the last week from more than one person that I trust, someone that's really close to that situation in Memphis with the Grizzlies. And by all accounts, John Morant has gone through great lengths to get things together off the court. And the biggest thing that I've been told is he's changing the people that are in that inner circle that he rolls with, which I think could be helpful in terms of his decision-making and just putting himself in a better position. But from what I have been told, he is making better choices now, which should put him in a position to have success. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. U.S. and Belgium coming up at 5. Our coverage will start at 4:30. I hope you're enjoying your Monday afternoon. What a beautiful day it is outside. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Lessons in Love by Level 42. In Love by Level 42. I would recommend when you have a free moment to watch a live version of this song and check out Mark King, the lead singer. I don't know how his hands move as fast as they do when he's on bass, but his work on this song is fabulous. 503-248-0620. I think I also shared the story that Level 42 was also playing when I was at Uncle Howard's house when I was younger, watching VH1, and he came in and said, Chad, we don't watch those type of programs in this house. I was like, well, it's a great song. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I also noticed that I think Bill Maher's got an episode out, a brand new episode out. I haven't checked it yet, but Bo Derek is on Club Random. I'm going to have to watch that. Bo Derek is the reason that HBO got removed from our house because my brother and I were checking out the movie 10, and so that happened. But I'll have to check out that Club Random with Bill. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. You can jump on board. Whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. Enjoyed the weekend. I'm just loving the sunshine, getting a chance to play a lot of golf, and I love that, and having a chance to hang out and spend some time with family. So it's a lot of fun, and looking forward to the upcoming week, and we'll see how things shake out with the World Cup tonight. It'd be fun to see the U.S. men's national team get the win tonight in advance. I'm having fun watching the soccer discourse from people around the world, because I'm not a huge soccer fan, so I'm still learning, but seeing people argue about this or about the red card or about Trump getting involved, like it's just total chaos right now. And I'm all for it. I want drama. I love drama, and we'll see how things shake out, but it should be a lot of fun. And I have a lot of friends that I know who were pulling for Mexico, and so they were devastated after that defeat yesterday. So there you have it. Outside of that, we're kind of in that dead period now, beginning of July. So the Major League All-Star game's coming up, and then we'll get into the second half of the baseball season. But we're not at football camps yet, but that's right around the corner. So we're a few weeks out away from football. No basketball going on. We got baseball season right before the All-Star game. Fortunately, we got the World Cup right now, but we are in the traditional dead area of sport, or at least it is out here in the Northwest. Now, if you're living in a different part of the country, you know, where you have a major sports town with like 4 teams, it's totally different because baseball's huge. Like in San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York, where they got multiple teams, like you're never out of a season. You know, baseball season spills into football season. You've got hockey, and then you got basketball, and it's just this constant cycle of sport, which is really nice. I think that's one of the things I enjoyed the most about, you know, living and working down in San Francisco is not that I had any personal connection with any of the teams. I did not, but just being in a position to always have a sport to be able to focus on and talk about, because it was a story, which was cool. And even with the NHL with the San Jose Sharks. But baseball is huge. Football is always king. And then you have the Warriors come on, who were strong as well. So you're always in season talking about something. That's why New York right now is fascinating. Knicks just won a championship. You got the Giants and, of course, the disaster, which is the Jets. The Mets are a mess. But you've got the hockey, you've got the football, baseball, basketball, all of it. And here in Portland, it's part of the reason why it's important that they get that deal done so we can keep the Moda Center, get the renovations done, and make sure the Blazers are here long term. You know, we need as many sports as possible. And I'm just hoping, especially out there being in Hillsborough yesterday, like, can you imagine how dope it would be to have a baseball stadium in downtown Portland, you know, sitting there close to the water and you're rolling up to a baseball game? Or maybe you're going to catch a series in Portland during the summertime with the weather the way it is out here. Like, sign me up for that. Like, I want as much sports as possible. And I definitely think this area could support a baseball team. So we live and we hope, and we'll see how things shake out. But I don't really have any real answer. You know, a lot of people are asking me now, like, what's the Blazers' plan? Are they done? What's the next move? You know, I'm not sure, because we're getting mixed signals right now. I just look at the roster on paper. If it doesn't make sense to any of us with 5 guards and Denny Avdia, then I would imagine the Blazers are well aware that maybe they need to bring a little bit more balance to the roster. So I'm just going to continue to think and believe that there's got to be another move coming because they have to balance out the roster. So there you have it. And we just don't know when. It could happen today, or it's something that could come later in the summer as we get closer to a brand new season. But on paper, it just doesn't make sense. And they got great value in that deal for Morant. Great value. I mean, on the trade ledger, Joe Cronin won that trade. Unloaded the contract, got, potentially high value return in John Morant, potentially. It could go sideways as well, but, there's definitely a lot of upside there. But the fit on the roster doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And I've asked multiple people, hey, do you think they're going to start Dame and Ja? If the roster stays as is, yeah, I think they'll start Dame and Ja. That's crazy to me. I don't see how that works. Even more important that you have rim protection if those two guys are going to be your backcourt. So we shall see. But Trey Murphy III is out there. I mean, by the reporting and by the indications, it looks like at some point the Pelicans will look to move him. But what a valuable piece he is. I don't know if he's an all-star or not, but I know he's a perfect fit for the Blazers. So you have Ja, wouldn't appear to be a great fit, and you look at someone like Murphy with his skill sets, yeah, give me some of that. DeMar DeRozan, someone just reached out to me and wanted to know if I'd want him on the roster. I don't think so. I like DeMar DeRozan, and I respect his game. He's terrific in the mid-range, but I just don't think he's a fit based on what the Blazers have. He's a guy that would need his shots and his touches. I just don't think that's a terrific fit. A decent shooter, but not an elite shooter. But Murphy would be a better fit, but obviously going to come at a much higher cost. You can probably get DeRozan at a pretty good price right now as a free agent. But for the Blazers to get someone like Murphy, it's going to have to take the negotiating from Cronin because they're going to want multiple picks in return. And the question is, what players do you send out? What picks? How valuable are the picks? And how many do you want to unload for a player like Murphy? Could you get it done for 2 of the picks? If so, if it gets down to that type of price tag, then it's simply something you've got to investigate. Because of his youth at 26 years of age, he would fit the majority of the core young pieces for the Blazers, but would, really fit a massive need of shooting. And that's what we saw throughout the postseason. The teams that had great success, you got to have guys that can knock down open shots. And the Blazers in the Spurs series did not have enough guys knocking down the open looks. And then that's why they talked about the need for shooting, elite shooting, after that series was over. Because they recognized that, hey, we're a little bit lacking in this area. So there you have it. But no, I don't know when that next move is going to go down. And so we wait. Dave Decker came on last week and or a trade of the deal went down. The thinking is they're going to make a play now after Jaylen Brown or a Trey Murphy. Went down. The thinking is they're going to make a play now after Jaylen Brown or a Trey Murphy. And he's like, I just don't know if they have enough to be able to make that happen now. So we'll see. All right, 503-248-0620. I'll be with you until 4:30 today, and then we're going to kick it over to our coverage of the World Cup with the U.S. and Belgium facing off at 5 o'clock coverage at 4:30. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. FIFA has denied Belgium's appeal, meaning Fowler and Balogun is going to be available today after having his red card rescinded over the weekend. President Trump today said he called President Infantino of FIFA and asked for a review of Balogun's red card. You can hear Belgium and the U.S. men's national team live on Rip City Radio 620, your home of the World Cup. Our coverage starts at 4:30 and the game starts at 5. Spain defeated Portugal by a final of 1-0, and the next game up is the U.S. and Belgium. From the NBA, Jay Triano has been added to the Trailblazers staff as an assistant. He worked with Mike Inori in Toronto, and Triano was an assistant under Terry Stotts here in Portland during Dame's first 4 years in the NBA. Rui Hachimura is staying put in L.A., but he's switching teams, gets a 2-year deal worth $28 million with the Clippers, and the Kings have cut DeMar DeRozan. All right, you can find me on social media, Chad Doing and at Chad and Rip City. Sean has reached out to me, Sean McCann. He said Portland should trade Sharp and a future first-round pick to the Pelicans for Sadiq Bey and Herb Jones. Well, this much I can tell you, Sean. I'm a huge fan of Herb. Love Herb Jones. Great player and terrific player, good defender, the type of player the Blazers need. But really love Trey Murphy because of his shooting ability. And that's the biggest thing Portland's going to need is more guys who can knock down threes. It's pretty simple. Find a guy that you can bring in that can 3 and D, but having those guys who can knock down shots when they're open, it's critical. You know, because they have enough guys that when they have the basketball in their hand who are going to draw attention from the defense, and you want to be able to make those teams pay when they overcommit. When you get a team in rotation, guys are left open, and then boom, you got guys who can knock down the shot. It's critical. You've got to have it. So we shall see. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. If you want to jump on board, you can do so. Whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. If you're a soccer fan out there, I'm seeking a soccer aficionado to give us some insight on the matchup with Belgium today. What's it going to take? How difficult of a matchup is it? And how do you see the match playing out? Let us know, 503-248-0620. Also, if you're playing a lot of golf right now, once again, I was out at Forest Hills Golf Course yesterday. You can get your tee times now. Just go to golfforesthills.com. The course is in immaculate condition right now. With the greens, they do have a number of new features with tee boxes on different holes. Marcus has been doing a lot of work on the course, but it's in great condition. You'll notice it as you work your way through the course. Hole 1, the green now is in great condition. They reshaped the green to where it's not quite as steep. So if you get above the pin now, it's still a difficult putt, but you're not going to kill yourself. The greens are running really true right now, which is nice. Compared to a place like Rose City where it's slow. When you hit a putt, the greens are very consistent at Forest Hills, hole to hole, so you know it's going to roll true. So I love the reshaped green on number 1. You definitely don't want to get above the pin on number 2. I did on back-to-back days and experienced 3 putts, which nearly wanted me to put a putter through my face. I think that par 3, number 4, with the tilted green, and from the white tees, it plays at about 207, one of the more difficult par 3s in the area, protected by bunkers on both sides. Love that hole. And then you got the dogleg left on the par 4-5, which is after the par 3, where your second shot is uphill, And once again, very difficult green to putt on, but I like that hole. And then the double dog leg on number 6, where you can launch it off the elevated tee box. And if it hits the hill side to your right, typically the ball will always trickle down into that little ravine area where you've got your second shot. And then you got to hit between the 2 trees as you blast it up the fairway into that double dog leg. Very impressive. Very impressive. And Joey, who works out there, he just got an ace, his first one ever last week on the par 3 number 11. The elevated tee box, a short par 3. I think yesterday was playing at about 102 with slope, but difficult shot. But he hit the hole. It was a front pin down in the left corner. He hit it on the slope, and it trickled back into the cup. I did not see it happen, but he gave me the full breakdown. But the course is playing really well right now. Number 16, the signature hole. The dual fairway is terrific. I played the right side fairway and rolled my ball down in front of the water, hitting up to the green. A couple of days ago, yesterday, I played the left side. But if you get it up to that slope, your ball almost always is going to roll all the way down to where you've got an easy approach up to the green, which has been expanded, and it's in really good condition right now. I did 3-putt that a couple of days ago, and I'm still mad about it, but that hole's in good condition. And they've got the backstop on the hill behind the green. It's mowed down close, so if you hit the backstop, your ball is going to roll. It'll come down the hill and back on the green, which is pretty cool. So it's nice to have that backstop because you can utilize that. You don't have to worry about underhitting the ball because if you overhit by a scotch, it's going to hit the backstop and come back on the green, which is really cool. And then right after that, the par 3 number 17, new tee boxes, and they've got a new green as well. So it's a 2-tier green, which is really cool. But the setup with the bunkers now on that hole, and the new tee box that I played was, I've only played it a couple times because it's new and I hadn't had a chance to play it yet. But it's an elevated tee box over to the left that's sitting just above the green on number 16. And so what's really neat is that I hit a natural draw for the most part. So you've got this big tree that's right in front of you, but it's not blocking your angle into the green, but it's right there. And so it just sets up naturally for the draw. But I like that tee box. It's a pretty good setup. But again, the weather was perfect. So get out there. Go to golfforesthills.com to get your tee times right now. And the other thing that's nice, when you're playing in the city, you get a lot of noise pollution. Trains, planes, automobiles, but out there on the edge of wine country, a little more peaceful, a little more quiet. And I've noticed I've been teeing off early when I go out there, usually doing one in the early 6 o'clock hour. A few people, especially on July 5th, coming off the 4th, I knew a lot of people would be a little haggard getting up in the morning after hitting it hard on the 4th. So it was nice to get out and be able to play fast. I love being able to play quick, where you keep your pace up, you stay in rhythm, you don't have to wait on anybody, and you're in your mindset. You just walk up, hit your next shot, and you move on. So go to golfforesthills.com. The other thing, too, with the fireworks, so, my daughter, she's down. She loves lighting the fireworks. She thinks that's pretty cool. And, she's in the proper age, 16 years of age. So we went and got a few. I forgot what they're called, but these bombers, like the big ones that shoot up in the air and they let off a loud boom and then they, sparkle up the sky. We were able to do it a couple of times where we light, 2 at the same time, and it looks really good. But what happened is that the roadway out in front of where I live is a little bit tilted. And so we lit one of the fuses and we got both of them lit. But as we pulled away, either my hand or her hand knocked the tube over. And luckily it tilted. I mean, we're idiots, man. So the thing falls over, but the fuse is already lit, so there's nothing I can do. And I just look to my left and I'm just praying that there's no one down the street. And that thing shot out and then blew up, and it looked beautiful, but not in that direction. It was supposed to go up in the sky, not straight down the street. Thank goodness there was no vehicles there, and there was no other human beings there. So that was one scary moment, and that's when I thought, God, you're such an idiot. And Kaylee looked at me, and she goes, oh, that's not good. And I said, you're right, that was dumb. Dum-dums. But it was loud, man. Boom, 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 all night long. It's like World War III out there. And poor puppy Shots, he was beside himself. He's very happy. that the peace is returned to the neighborhood so he can relax and be able to catch his naps. What can you do? It's crazy. 503-248-0620. So I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I noticed when I was driving down to Spirit Mountain on Friday, there were a lot of people heading out to the coast. The weather out there right now at the beach, too. I talked to a couple of people who went out. Good weather. So pretty much around the state, whether you're in the gorge. I have a friend who's a big windsurfer. Never done that before in my life, but he goes down there all the time, Hood River. He said it's been fabulous lately. And I think is that the wind sailing capital in the country? I think it is. But he goes down there all the time. So like I like to play golf and I'll seek that out, but any free moment he's got, he'll go out and hit Hood River to be able to, do some windsurfing. I've seen him out there before where you're driving by on 84 and you can see it's crowded out there. A lot of people go out there and do the windsurfing. I've never done it, but it looks like fun. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Just other little basic news of things that are going on right now through the NBA. A couple of different things that you need to know about. So it appears that the asking price right now is somewhere between 3 and 4 first-round picks to be able to get Trey Murphy III from New Orleans. But it does look like they're going to trade him at some point. We're still trying to see where LeBron is going to end up. He's going to leave LA and go to a different team. The question is where. And it's interesting because ESPN's putting out this, once again, this headline on this story from Ramona Shelburne, why LeBron broke up with the Lakers first, and the writing was on the wall. So again, it's funny that this narrative is being pushed about LeBron breaking up with the Lakers, but the reality is that the Lakers were not going to re-sign him, and that's because once they got Luka, the future and the direction of the franchise changed significantly, and they knew that they weren't going to be able to bring LeBron back based on the salary cap, and they're going to have to utilize their resources elsewhere to build the proper team around Luka. Now, they overpaid for Walker Kessler, but they're building the team in a different image now because they got Luka Doncic. But the Lakers being smart, they're allowing LeBron to, share his narrative on the situation. So, of course, he's going to paint it as, hey, they weren't doing the things I wanted, so I'm going to walk away. But that's not the case. They weren't going to bring him back regardless. DeMar DeRozan, waived by the Kings. They're looking to save some salary cap dollars, so they did. And they pushed DeRozan out. He's a free agent and can sign with any team. And I just don't think he's a fit for what the Blazers need right now. I've had a lot of people ask me about that. So we'll see, how things shake out. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number with Belgium and the U.S. men's national team. That game will kick off at 5 with Belgium and the U.S. men's national team. That game will kick off at 5 o'clock. And in the game earlier that we just saw go final, once again, that phone number 503-248-0620. It was Spain over Portugal by a final of 1-0. And 5 o'clock start for U.S. and Belgium. All right, jump on board if you want. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. Well, Michael Shacker has just given me some terrific information. Football preseason. I can't believe football season is in. I can't believe football season is here again. It's awesome. Can't wait. And once the camps open up and the preseason action gets underway, it goes by fast. And then before you know it, the start of football season, and we're all happy once again. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. The one thing that's been great about the World Cup, or at least one of the side stories that I've enjoyed watching, is just overall how great we've done at being a host of the World Cup. And there's been a lot of people who have traveled from all over the world to come here to be able to watch different, World Cup games, to see their country play, and just seeing the reports and the different documenting on social media of these people who have come from different countries to visit the United States of America to watch World Cup, and just how impressed they are, blown away by the people, by the country. A lot of people have been impressed by the food and the portion sizes. And say, you don't become the fattest country in the world for nothing, man. We do food the right way here. But just seeing their reaction to the country and the people. And that's one thing you always got to remember, too. We watch a lot of television or see a lot of news. There's a lot of good people out there. And you come across them, different walks of life. But you cross their paths usually every day, which is cool. And I enjoy that. It's one of the reasons why I love being out at the golf course. I go out by myself often, but get paired up with and meet a lot of good people, which is really cool. Your telephone number here, if you want to jump on board at the Rip City Drive, is 503-248-0620. I want to give you a little background on Trey Murphy and what's being reported right now. And this is coming from Michael Scotto, who is with Hoops Hype. And this is the latest detailing he's got on where we're at with Trey Murphy now that the Jaylen Brown domino has fallen and he's going to be with the Philadelphia 76ers. Scotto writes that following the blockbuster Jaylen Brown trade, there are those within league circles wondering if New Orleans Pelicans forward Trey Murphy III is going to be the next big trade domino to fall. Before this past trade deadline, the Golden State Warriors, Detroit Pistons, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, the Portland Trail Blazers, San Antonio Spurs, and Los Angeles Lakers called to express interest in trading for Murphy, which was previously reported by Hoops Hype. Some teams, according to Scotto, have faded from the Murphy trade conversation. Indiana got Ivica Zubac before the trade deadline. Portland acquired Ja Morant. San Antonio went to the NBA Finals and has since agreed to deals with Harrison Barnes and Tobias Harris. The Lakers just made a flurry of offseason maneuvers. Teams that are in the mix for Murphy to varying degrees now are the Celtics, Pistons, Warriors, Clippers, and Hawks. The Celtics have monitored Murphy's trade market, and following the Brown trade for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, they have gained extra draft capital that New Orleans has desired in any trade talks. The Pistons, according to Scotto, have consistently circled the wagon on Murphy in trade talks, but felt the price was too high, with the asking price dropping from the equivalent of 4 to 3 first-round picks in any Murphy trade talks recently. Will Detroit have more of an appetite to make a big trade following the loss of Tobias Harris in free agency? Scotto continues, Golden State's interest in Murphy is to be determined with a LeBron James free agent pursuit in the air. The Clippers traded Kawhi Leonard and have more draft picks to pursue the 26-year-old Murphy, who'd fit the timeline of their current young core. Atlanta has monitored the trade market for Murphy and other available players. The Hawks have several future first-round picks and tradable contracts to dangle. After Brown and Leonard fetched 2 first-round picks in trades, some NBA executives believe that should be the ceiling for a Murphy trade. Others argue his valuable contract with 3 years and $87 million remaining of team control could help New Orleans net a 3rd first-round pick. So, according to Scotto, the Blazers, because of their acquisition of Morant, have cooled in the pursuit of Trey Murphy III. But what I think could be going on here is that, like I mentioned before, Joe Cronin has made his name in the trade market by making sure that he wins the ledger, that he gets value in return. And so he's not going to give up 4 first-round picks or some absurd asking price. But if that number drops to 2, and you've got some players to dangle, and you've got 2 valuable first-round picks, and the Blazers' picks, the ones that they have, are as valuable of any, trade compensation in the NBA with picks. It could put the Blazers back in play. And we've seen Cronin make moves later in the summer before, too. So even though the current reporting shows other teams in hotter pursuit of Murphy, it doesn't mean that the Blazers can't get back in the mix for that. But if you talk about fit, I would think Murphy would, I think it'd be great here. I love 3 years of team control, much like Jaylen Brown. Having that team control is critical. So you don't have to worry about doing anything with him right away when you sign him. You're going to have him for a time period. A guy can shoot the 3, he can defend, and he just turned 26 years of age. That's perfect. But he should not be a 4 first-round pick type of player. And I do not think when he's dealt that they're going to get 4 first-round picks. I just don't think that's going to happen. But teams initially are going to, it's negotiation. They're going to come out, we want 4 first-round picks. And then they're going to realize that that's not happening. And then you start to change your thinking and the negotiations continue. So maybe that's a spot where when the price comes down or as New Orleans gets a better feel for the market for Murphy, that's where Joe Cronin can re-enter those discussions and make a play because they've got the tools to be able to get that deal done. And like I said, I don't know what the end game here is. I just know that just a jaw trade doesn't make a lot of sense because of fit. I mean, it doesn't. Well, what are they going to do? If they come back, people are asking me now, and I'm sure you've thought about this yourself, are they going to come to camp with the roster they have right now? How exactly is that going to work? So we know that Dame is going to start. There's no way Dame is not starting. So Dame will start. Who do you put next to him? Seriously, who do you start next to him? Because you have Dame, you have Holiday, Scoot, Shaden, and Ja. So you got 5 guards, and you got Denny Abdi, who's a primary facilitator. So we know that Klingon will start at center. Denny and Tamani will start at the forward spots. That's 3. You've got 2 guard positions. Dame's going to start for sure. So we know 4 of the 5 starters. It's Dame, Denny, Tamani, and Klingon. Well, who gets the 5th spot? Now, for me, of the guys who are available, of those other 4, I would put Drew Holiday in the starting lineup with Dame for a couple of reasons. One, Drew Holiday has proven to be effective playing on or off ball. So I think he would blend well with that group. Also, I like Drew Holiday's defensive capabilities and helping to be able to protect Dame in the backcourt with his defense. And when you combine Drew with Tamani, with Denny, and with Klingon, that's a much better defensive lineup. Now, one thing with Denny, let's say that because you have this abundance of guards now, and including Ja Morant, maybe Denny won't have to handle the rock quite as much as we saw down the stretch last year, and he got exhausted and fatigued with the basketball. That should help Denny's output on the defensive end, I would think. So I would go Drew and Dame together in the starting lineup, and then I would have Ja Morant, Scoot, and Shaden available to come off the bench. Ja Morant as a starter with Dame doesn't make a lot of sense because neither one of those guys is a good defender. So they would get destroyed. That first layer of defense would get ripped up pretty bad. And then you're going to put Klingon in a compromised spot. So I don't like that. I like Drew because he's a good defender, but he can also play off ball. And then that provides you with a good 1-2 punch off the bench, being able to go to guys like Scoot and Shaden. So that's where I would go. But the other reason why the 5 guard thing doesn't make a lot of sense is, I know that Dame and John Drew are going to play because, they're vets. They make big money. I get that. But the Blazers drafted Scoot and Shaden in the top 10. So you're going to have to get regular minutes for those guys so they can continue to develop. One of the most important things, assuming the roster or assuming that Scoot and Shaden are on the roster to begin the year, let's say that neither one of those guys is given up in a deal leading up to the season. Now, one of the most important things they're going to have to do is, get those guys on the floor and let them play so they can continue to collect data to know exactly what they got. I can make a pretty good argument. I was talking to some guys a few days ago, and one of the guys I was talking to he's convinced that Scoot is not going to work, like not the answer. And my response to that is like, how do you know? And we just need a larger sample from both players. And unfortunately for them, injuries have derailed, parts of their early career. You need to get a longer look at both those guys so that you know what you have, and then that can help you in terms of determining how you want to put the team together moving forward. So there you have it. That's where I'm at. 503-248-0620. The other big thing, I continue to get asked about the arena situation, and my position remains the same. I think they'll get a deal done, and as a result, they'll get the extended long-term lease with the Blazers, and that will take care of that. I think that the council, everyone's going to come to terms and get a new deal done. That's what I think. So I'm not too concerned. And once that lease is signed, then we can all just take a big breath. And then more importantly, get rolling with the renovations to get things ready for the Trailblazers. It'll be a better experience for all of us when we go to games. And then you'll be set up and ready to roll with the women's Final Four. But I do think a deal is going to get done. And I know that there are a lot of people who are concerned right now, but I still think it will get done. And just keep this in mind, like, for the city, because they own the building, like, it's much better to get the deal done now and have a viable tenant in that building, because let's say the Blazers move elsewhere, like, the city's still going to have to deal with the arena renovations. It's much better for them to do that when they got a viable tenant in there than to not. And so I think in the end, with all the politics and the discussion and, what everyone's saying about the deal, I think it's going to get done. And for Tom Dundon, I think his only fault, through these negotiations is that he's unfiltered. He just says what's on his mind, and he's really not too concerned about what people think. So he's not playing a political game here. He's just coming out and being very blunt about what he's looking for, what he wants to accomplish, what he will do and what he won't do. And, some people are a little more finesse when it comes to communicating those things in public, but Dundon's just like, no, this is the way I see it. This is what we want to get done. This is why it's important. And then you move on. But I do think a deal is going to get done. But I get people asking about it all the time. And I know there are some who would disagree, but it's already been signed off. The mayor's on board, the governor's on board, and I think the councilors are going to be on board as well. And then once they get that approved, they'll get that new lease signed, and we can move forward. And that's a good thing, because once that's done and they can move forward with that, it just gives more time and more energy for Dundon to continue to focus on shaping the team. But for the Blazers, we'll see where things, carry on. But I'm hopeful, like Trey Murphy III would be a great target. If that's someone you can get in here at, with good value, with his ability and what you want to see there, I think it'd be a great fit because of his shooting ability. And a guy that's got length and can create some disruption on defense. Love those type of players. It's one of the reasons why I like, the young pieces on this Blazer roster. Tamani Kamara, tenacious defender. Denny Avdia is a guy that can play on both ends of the floor, multi-talented. And Donovan Clingan, limitations to his game because of his lack of foot speed and his size, but a terrific rebounder, dominant offensive rebounder, good shot blocker, and someone that provides a consistent presence there defending the rim, which is nice. So we shall see. But that's where we're at. So we'll wait, we'll see. And, I know, the Blazers, again, I just look at it very simply. I look at the roster, I look at the pieces. There needs to be some type of consolidating of the guards, and they have to address the need for a wing, and in particular, a guy who can shoot. That's the other thing about the Ja deal. Great value, but the fit doesn't look right. And part of that's because he's not a dead-eye shooter. He's not someone that's going to help them in their biggest area of need, which is finding guys who can knock down open threes. And we saw that through the postseason with the teams that had the most success. They had guys who were, knocking down shots. The Knicks had multiple guys who were knocking down shots. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We will have Hops Ticket Tuesday tomorrow. Another 4-pack that we'll give away for the Rip City Radio Row. We'll do that tomorrow. And I'm going to have more details on Pup City, which is coming up. It's a walk. I've done it the last few years, and it's coming up here in the near future. But it's an opportunity to gather down at the Rose Quarter next to Moda Center and they've got a little short trek set up where you can take your dogs on a walk. And I like doing that. Shots likes it, and he walks with purpose, but the entire thing is set up for your dogs and for your pets, and I'll have some different vendors down there, but it's a pretty good time. And it's a perfect size walk for Shots because he's got the little legs, so he burns a lot of energy. So he's good for short bursts, but he's not like a long distance guy. So I think the walk is perfect for him. But he also likes the journey too, just being in the car and getting a chance to go somewhere different. I think he has a lot of fun doing that. So Pup City's coming up, and we'll dive into that, and I'll get you some more details on that this week. Also, Hairfest is coming up in Canby in the near future. We're going to dive in and talk about that coming up on the show this week, which is going to be fun. But I think Shacker's a big fan of Hairfest. Jason Feldman's going to come in. We'll talk more music. You're down with the tribute bands, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen many cover bands, but honestly, I've never made it to Hairfest because it's always during the Hillsborough Hop season. But there's select bands I would like to go there and see.
Do you have any concerts lined up for the rest of summer?
The one I've been eyeballing is Weird Al on Labor Day down at the State Fair.
He's going to be at the State Fair?
Yeah, early show on Labor Day.
I got tickets for a couple of friends of mine who went out and saw him. I think he was at Edgefield last year. He said it was awesome.
Yeah, Twisted Sister is also going to be at the State Fair. Sebastian Bach filling in for Dee Snider.
Oh, Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, Dee Snider can't tour right now.
Interesting. Who else is going to be down there at the State Fair? They get some good acts once in a while.
I can't remember, but I think Vanilla Ice is playing at the Clark County Fair.
Vanilla Ice at the Clark County Fair?
I love the 90s tour. I think Sir Mix-a-Lot's involved.
He's a good interview. He's like a builder. He's done really well for himself.
Yeah, I missed his reality show. I wish it was still around where he was renovating houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched some of that. He's really good. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and I liked how he would just use the equipment. He was very comfortable with the construction equipment.
Yeah, he's really good at it. But no, he's done really well. Like he had a plan, and he used the music in his career as a way to kind of launch his other businesses in real estate and stuff like that. But the home renovations is pretty cool. I admire any guy that can, do stuff with his hands like that because I'm such a loser in that category. Can you build stuff?
No, I just know people who can build stuff. I'm glad to be friends with them.
It's great. You got to have those friends.
Yeah, and usually you can pay them off in Coors Light.
That's right. Coors Light, or maybe have Brenda make them a nice meal.
Yeah.
Or a
That's
dessert.
been done.
Yeah. That's good. I can't build anything. I hate that. Like my dad right now is redoing his deck, and he just knows how to do it. I'm just like, how in the world does he know how to do that? Ripping boards up, placing down new boards, cutting them up to size. And then when he's done with that, he's going to, repaint and everything. But he makes it look easy. And I just don't have any of those skills.
I love the deconstruction part of construction, but the putting something together, you need to be perfect at your work if you're going to do it.
Yeah, the deconstruction, I'm good at that. I can rip anything down.
Yeah, give me a crowbar. I can pull something apart.
That's why I love going to the dump and just throwing stuff out of the back of your truck and watching it smash into the ground. And you get to drive away without worrying about it.
That deck stuff, you have to be careful because then you get inspected. You have to have it perfect, or you have to redo it.
This is a great song here. This is Ventura Highway from America at the Clark we'll be at. And I've seen him twice, once in 96 at the Clark County. And I've seen him twice, once in 96 at the Clark County Fair. And I saw him in 2019 down in Laughlin, Nevada. And they were great both times. That's a big separation, 23 years between shows. And they're not dumb. They just come out and they're like, hope you enjoy the Greatest Hits album because you're going to get all of it right now. And when I hear that at the beginning of a show, I'm like, good. They got this stuff figured out.
So they're not busting out a new song from their new album?
No. And they had the chance to work with George Martin, the longtime, producer of the Beatles. And they've worked with him too. But yeah, America's great. All right, 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. All right, Kling Rap just hit me up and said, Chad, I'm listening in right now, and I agree with the lineup. I also expect a big of small ball, however the roster shakes out, to be played with Drew, Denny, and 2 at the 3, 4, and 5 for better or worse. I mean, obviously, if the lineup doesn't change much, we will see some small ball combinations. But with Tamani being able to play all 5 spots at times, and, of course, with Rob Will and his versatility with Donovan Clingan, they've got the ability to go small at times. I mean, depending on matchups, like you could go small with those guys and think about the athleticism and speed at which you could play with. You could play fast. I know a lot of people are focused on all the other guys, but I got to be honest with you, I'm excited to see Scoot Henderson continue to develop. I mean, don't lose sight of the fact that he had a great finish to last season. I mean, he really played well down the stretch. He was big in the playing game. He played well the first couple of games of the series against San Antonio. And I know a lot of people point to the struggles that he had, later in that series, especially in games 4 and 5. But he really showcased what he's capable of. And I just think for a young player like that, he needs more reps so he can continue to develop that confidence. But most importantly for him, just being healthy. But, man, when he's engaged defensively, physical, and he's now getting to the point where he's so quick with that first step, like no defender can stay in front of him. I mean, he can just break you down, which is really, really fun to watch. Another question from Sean. He goes, if Portland were to trade for Murphy, does he start over Tamani? Yeah, I have no idea. I would probably put him out there in the starting lineup. I would start him over Tamani because that puts another guy on the floor who can really space. And then Tamani could be an effective energy guy, defense, off the bench. And, of course, Tamani's going to get a lot of minutes late in games regardless of whether he's a starter or not. But, yeah, I would go Murphy because of the shooting ability, having another guy on the floor who can space and knock down shots. All right, let's go out to the phones. Eddie in Vancouver wants to talk a little World Cup. I'm in on that. Eddie, what's up, buddy? What's on your mind?
Chad, man, how are you doing, my friend?
Very well. Did you have a nice 4th of July?
It was nice, Chad, and I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. I was like, I was on board with you saying last week about, it's money and, it's money. First off, I want to say this. I heard myself on the radio the last time I called, and one of the things that bugged me about Chauncey Billups, like his first years on this interview, I was like, and I was going to call him. I was like, if he stops saying, because I don't know. But anyway, I heard myself, so I'm going to try to get away from that. But anyway, last week you were talking about the 4th of July and spending money in fireworks. I have I didn't plan on fireworks, but I have a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. So I ended up getting fireworks. Plus the grandkids were here. And so we found a parking lot that we've been going for the last 4 years. But this time we took the dogs. And my poor dog, Staffy, was so, just traumatized. And I felt like, I'm always catering to her when the fireworks come. It's okay. She knows that I got her back. But when she seen me actually popping fireworks, she was like, oh, my God, you traitor. You know what I mean? You're one of those. But to the World Cup, though, Chad, thank God we have some soccer, Thank God we got soccer to watch this summer, and good soccer. I'm becoming a fan, because the World Cup, I don't really know the rules, but, we learn real fast, you know what I mean? But, I was watching, I called in this time last summer. Shagger said a month of football to a preseason. It's like the dog days of summer coming up. We're watching, roof ball. And they got there's things that gets me in trouble at home because I'm so bored. My wife is like, you'll watch anything. She got me watching USA and Australia. You'll watch anything. And I'm just, I'm so over that. They just don't understand, bro.
No, it's okay, man.
They just don't understand.
No, I'm still learning too, so don't worry about it, Eddie. I always love it when you call in. And I would not air check that latest phone call either because Shacker and I caught you saying multiple times.
I was worried he got cut off because he said too many times.
It's hard, Eddie. It's a challenge. We all have our crutch words that we go to. I would say one of the hardest things to do in this business is to sit down when your boss wants to do an air check. And you're listening back to your voice and you're hearing what you said about this or how you broke down this topic or how you set up this topic, and your boss is asking you why you did it this way or how he wants you to do it, it's painful. Very painful. So I respect you listening back to your previous call and acknowledging that you want to tighten things up a little bit. That's nothing but respect to you, my friend. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And I'm the same way with soccer. I don't have a grasp, a firm grasp on the rules, but I'm starting to understand. And the more you watch or engage with a particular sport, the more you start to understand things and see how it goes down. But when it comes to Team USA in any competition, I enjoy watching Team USA. And in this case, it's the U.S. men's national team. So I'm going to watch and I'm going to pull for them tonight. I want them to advance. I like the idea of the men's U.S. national team upsetting teams in the World Cup because that's going to upset other countries around the world. I like that. I'm a nationalist. I love Team USA, so I want to see them do well. But it is fun to watch and engage in another sport. But same thing with hockey. As I started to understand the rules and grasp what was going on, it helped me enjoy the game even more. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Well, it's beautiful outside. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. I'll be with you all the way up until 4:30, and then we're going to kick it over to our World Cup coverage on your home of the World Cup, Rip City Radio 620 with Team USA and Belgium. But if you want to jump on board, I'd love to hear your voice. Whatever you want to discuss is fine by me. You got thoughts on Trey Murphy III? And how do you assess the situation in your mind when you see the Blazers make that move for Ja and yet there's been no follow-up trade? What are you thinking? And we are 1 month away from the start of the NFL preseason. The Panthers and Cardinals. That's when you're hard up for football, is when you'll watch the Panthers and Cardinals in preseason. The Cardinals and Panthers will be bad enough in the regular season, but in the Hall of Fame game, yikers. 503-248-0620, you got the Rip City Drive. All right, it's 5 o'clock. Ciao. Excuse me. It's 4 o'clock. I started an hour early, and I've been off on the clock all day. It's now 4 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Monday afternoon. FIFA has denied Belgium's appeal, and that means that Falarin Balogun's going to be available after having his red card rescinded over the weekend. President Trump said today that he made a call to President Infantino of FIFA and asked for a review of the red card. You can hear Belgium and the U.S. men's national team live here on Rip City Radio 620, your home for the World Cup. Coverage starts at 4:30 in the game at 5 o'clock. Jay Triano has been added to the Trailblazer staff as an assistant. He worked with Mike Honori in Toronto, and Triano was an assistant under Terry Stotts during Dame's first 4 years in the NBA. And Rui Hachimura is staying put in L.A., but he's going to switch teams and has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Clippers. Spain over Portugal in World Cup action 1-0. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. There's a huge march right now to Lumen Field. Thank goodness that was beeped. That spooked me just a little bit. Eddie in Vancouver had, referenced the 4th of July. I talked about it last week where I grew up as a youngster. When you're a young boy at like 7 or 8 years old, the idea of fire and explosives is amazing. The fact that my parents and grandparents were willing to buy loads of fireworks, firecrackers, M80s, bottle rockets, all the fun stuff, and hand me a bag full of it and just say, go have fun and don't shoot anything at your brother, it just blew me away. Of course, I lived in the country. And when I mean the country, I mean I was out in the country. Like there weren't homes around, right? Well, as I got older, you start to look at those type of things. You're like, dude, fireworks is kind of a waste of money. It's like lighting, $10 bills on fire. And then you get pets and you love your pets. And for me, my dog and Puppy Shots hates the fireworks. It scares the daylights out of him. So you get older and you're like, you know what? Fireworks are dumb. They make a mess. It puts people at risk. It can burn down your home. You could hurt yourself. There's all sorts of bad things. And it's expensive and a waste of money. It's funny how things change with time and perspective. But my daughter was like, hey, Dad, do you think we can go get some fireworks? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. I didn't want to be like the old fuddy-duddy. It's like, no, we don't need to do that, honey. Let's go do something else. Nope, went down and spent a few bucks, got some fireworks, and she had fun. So, yeah, as you get older, you start to look through things through a different lens, but I did not want to be a fuddy-duddy with her. So we got some fireworks and she had fun. We did not go up to exit 88B. And that's the only place I know where you can get the Indian fireworks, which means you can get whatever you want because they play by their own rules. And that area up there in Chehalis, right off the freeway, exit 88B, they've got like a firework mall. We did not go up there. Thought about it, get some firecrackers and stuff, but it was too much of a drive before I'd even thought about it. So we did not go up there. But I don't know where else nearby where you can get the Indian fireworks. And before, like when I went up there before in 93, it was just like one stand. That's it. But now it's like an entire parking lot filled with all these different stands. So it's a big business for them now, which is cool. But they had everything. There was like one big dude like standing in the corner and said, you got anything else? And he took me back to this back room where they had like M1000s. It basically just like sticks of dynamite. And I was like, that's really cool, but I don't think I need that. So I stuck with the firecrackers and stuff. And then me and my buddy Jason promptly got in trouble in the summer of 93 at Vancouver Lake for using illegal fireworks, firing off firecrackers. We got hit by a biker cop. And that was infuriating. It's like, how did you get You got caught by a biker cop, you loser. I did, though. Fortunately for me, I was not 18 yet because my birthday wasn't until August. My buddy Jason was 18, so he had to pay a bigger fine and had to go through more red tape. I just had to go through a diversion program. My fine was $25. And it also meant that because I got in trouble before the age of 18, that Arlen, the guy who was down there at the Vancouver, at the courthouse, the Clark County Courthouse, he did not shred my file from my MIP for utilizing marijuana at the age of 15 on school grounds, that he did not destroy my file. So it stayed on file for a while. But I got in trouble using fireworks that my Nana purchased for me. But thankfully, I think Jason's fine was like $500. Mine was $25. He was really mad at me for that. But he was of age. But yeah, biker cop got us. That's unfortunate. But we did. We had fun. Kaylee had a good time. And that's really what it's all about. And she had a good time. She got to spend some time with her boyfriend before that. And I thought the weather was perfect. And I really had a good time up there at Wildwood. Beautiful day for that 4-man scramble we played in. And, good time. And good people, too. I ran into a lot of people I know up there. But that's a beautiful golf course. It's the first time I don't use golf carts. I like to walk courses. But, of course, in a tournament like that, you use a cart. And it's amazing how much more energy I had after the round. Because when you walk Wildwood, usually when you get from 15 up to 16, it's like a 90-degree angle. And so that's deep in the round. And by the time I get up there, my hips and my back, I'm just gassed. But I was refreshed, riding in the golf cart. I didn't have to expend extra energy. That was kind of a new experience for me. So that worked out pretty well. And that's the area right there, the walk from 15 up to 16, where my buddy Josh had his heart attack. And I think he said this October, it's going to be 6 years, I think, since the heart attack. And he's doing fine. He just got back from a mission trip. He went to Cambodia. I just talked to him yesterday. He's back. I think I might meet up with him tomorrow evening to get something to eat and be able to talk about his trip. But yeah, he went to Cambodia and just got back. So he's doing really well now. But I told all my buddies I played with on Saturday, I gave him the story about Josh carrying his own clubs, walking up to 16, had the heart attack. He did not fall over and pass out, but he had to call an ambulance after the round. And it was fortunate that it took place because they were able to find the blockage and get him taken care of, or eventually it would have killed him. But yeah, so he feels like it's a second lease on life. But yeah, that is a walk. That course is brutal. Some of the other courses, Forest Hills has got a few hills, so it's a bit of a walk. Heron Lake's not so much, a little bit flatter, but there are some hillier areas there. And then tomorrow, I'm excited about tomorrow. Each summer, I do a playing lesson with my coach, Nick Warren from Golf Tech. And so I think we're going out to the reserve. And the playing lesson of all the things I do with Nick is probably my favorite because we play 9 holes, and then he doesn't play. He'll do a couple of shots just for teaching purposes, but he carries around his iPad and just gets video. And then he puts together, after the round, he puts together the video and the lesson, and we go over the different things on the course. But it's really cool because, it's one thing to be inside on a mat in front of the, launch simulator. But when you're out there on the course, when you have uneven lies or you get into these different situations that you encounter on the course, having your coach there to walk through those different situations with you, it's freaking awesome. Like, I love that aspect of it. How to read greens, what to think about, how to process the game mentally, different ideas for different shots that come up during the course of the round. Like, that is, the playing lesson is probably my favorite. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. And I don't know which side, but it's going to be out the reserve. And so we do that every year. Love the playing lesson. It's just nice to be able to be there with the coach and just walk through all of those different details. And the reserve is one of those courses, too. Every time I play it, I love it. Playing a few tournaments out there. I play with my buddies out there, but that's a good course. Beautiful. It's on the other end of town from where I'm at, but very nice. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. You can reach out. Really, the latest is we know that the U.S. men's national team is going to be at full strength tonight, which is going to be great. That game's going to kick off at 5. Coverage here on Rip City Radio will start at 4:30. Also nice that Balogun's going to be available tonight. Red card rescinded over the weekend. And according to President Trump, he was able to jump in and ask for a review. and they rescinded it. Other news that's big, Jay Triano has been added to the Trailblazers staff as an assistant. Now, Mike Inouye, the new Trailblazers coach, spent a lot of time in Toronto. One interesting fact about Mike Inouye is he's never been fired from a job. It's pretty amazing in this world of professional sports, and he's been around for a long time. But that goes to show how well-respected he is. But when Jay Triano was promoted to head coach, Triano made him his lead assistant. And now Triano gets to come back to a place that he's familiar with when he was working under Terry Stotts from 2012 to 2016. Very familiar with Dame. Spent his first 4 years in the NBA with Dame when he was here as an assistant. But what I like about having an experienced guy like Triano, it's helpful for somebody like Nori to have experienced guys like that around him. So when different things pop up, throughout the course of the season, even though Mike Inouye's been around forever and he's got some experience as a head coach filling in for Chris Finch, all those details that you wouldn't be familiar with because you haven't been a head coach, that's where a guy like Coach Triano can really help out. Just on the details. Be prepared for this. This is something you're going to have to deal with. Think about this. As Nori kind of grows into this role. But the way I envision Mike Inouye is like, I think he's going to do a good job. And I think as each passing day goes by during the course of the season, he'll get more confident and more comfortable in the role. And then once he really gets a handle on all the little things that you got to learn how to deal with as a head coach, then I think he'll really start to take off in that preparation mode with his players in terms of, different schemes, different actions they're going to utilize, the way that they want to play, and then those, big moments at the end of games when you get inside of 5 minutes, it's clutch time, and you got to come up with the big plays out of a timeout. How to put the ball in the hands of your best shooters, your best players to get the best look. Like I really think that's where he's going to shine, or in those high leverage moments. In football they call it situational football, right? The teams that are detailed in the little things. How to manage the clock, how to run a 4-minute offense, how to deal with special teams, the details. That's something that Bill Belichick was really good at. I think the Blazers are going to be better in those little detailed areas of the game, which is going to make them better. Especially when you're playing a lot of close basketball games, it's going to come down to a decision here or execution in this spot. I would expect the Blazers to be even tighter in their execution. But I'm excited to see what Mike Inouye can become as a head coach. I'm a big fan of Tiago Splitter, too. I think Tiago Splitter is going to be a very good head coach in the NBA. But Nori, with his experience, now that he's got an opportunity, I expect him to grow into that role. And I'm very anxious to see what he's going to be able to do. I like him, and I think his ability, we know this, he's a people person, for lack of a better term. But the way he's able to connect with people and communicate, it's critical because, a lot of times with players, especially guys who have experience in the NBA or guys who make a lot of money or guys who have a certain reputation as being a big-time player, when you have the ability to communicate, you can talk to your guys and help them to understand why it is that you need them to do X, Y, and Z, or why a particular role for that player on their team is going to be better for the team. But more importantly, in that role, they're also going to be able to accomplish the things individually they're looking to accomplish, right? You've got to be able to explain that to a player. And the example I've always used, and you've heard me say this before, but it's what Steve Kerr did with Andre Iguodala. They had Draymond Green. Iguodala was out. Draymond Green was in the starting lineup. Steve Kerr realized that the team was better with Draymond in the starting lineup. But he also knew he had a high-paid, experienced vet who was well-respected in Iguodala, so he went to him and said, hey, this is what I need to do. I need to start Draymond Green, but I need you to be the captain of our bench squad, and you're going to be a sixth man. And by embracing that role, it's going to be better for you, but it's also going to be better for the team. And you got to be able to sell that and help the player understand that so they can embrace it. And then look what happened. The Warriors went on and won a championship that year, and Iguodala was named Finals MVP. And why is that? Because Steve Kerr had the ability to communicate to his guys in a way to help them understand why they needed to do X, Y, and Z to help the team. And for Iguodala, it turned out to be not only beneficial to the team, but for himself, because he's able to win a championship, be a part of that, and also get a finals MVP. So it adds to the legend of his career because of the role he was willing to accept. And this goes back to what Greg Popovich has long said, and I agree with it, that role acceptance is the hardest thing to accomplish in the NBA. Getting your players to not only understand a role, but to accept it. Do they embrace it? Do they accept it? And that's why I gave credit to LeBron over the last, couple of years playing with Luka Doncic. He knew that Luka needed to be the focal point of their attack. And so LeBron was willing to accept a role handling things a little bit differently. He focused on offensive rebounding in the short period of time that he and Reeves and Luka were all healthy. But he found other ways to impact the game outside of just having the ball in his hands and, the way he had been used to playing for so long. And when you get guys to embrace roles that are going to help the team, it can be a very good thing for the team and for the players. So I think Mike Norrie is going to be able to do that. And so that way, if he needs Dame to play a certain way or do things a little bit differently than maybe in the past, he'll have the ability to communicate that. Or Denny or anyone else on the team. Someone asked me the other day, too, whose team is this? I'm talking about the Trailblazers. Whose team is it? Well, it's Dame's team. It's Dame's team because he is the player, the most popular player on the team. He's a franchise cornerstone. He's one of the greatest players in franchise history, and that will be his locker room. So the team is Dame's, and he'll set the tone and be the voice for the team. Now, at this stage in his career, it doesn't mean that Dame's the best player on the team. The best player is Denny Avdia. And Denny Avdia being featured and being in a position to be the focal point of their attack is going to be critical. They need Denny to facilitate. They need Denny to attack the painted area and get to the foul line. They need Denny to push the tempo and help the team get out in transition. So it's Denny Avdia, the best player, but it's Dame's team. Does that make sense? Meaning Dame's going to set the tone and be the leader and be the voice of the locker room, but Denny Avdia is their best player. And then I like the mixture of guys they have in the locker room because they have a lot of guys that lead by example. Drew Holiday is not afraid to speak, but he's more of an example guy. And I think he'll mesh well with a guy like Dame because they have mutual respect for one another. Tamani Kamara is a lead by example guy. I'm going to show up ready to go, and I'm going to, be the tone setter on defense. Donovan Clingan just wants to win. So he's probably the easiest guy to work with if you're the coach because you can literally go to Clingan and say, I need you to do this or that or whatever you need him to do, and he's in. He'll embrace it, and he'll go after it. That's just how he rolls. So he's a great player to coach because he'll do whatever is necessary if it's going to help the team win. And that's why I like his mindset. And then everyone else, like with Ja, I don't know. I don't know enough about Ja because I haven't been around him. I know he's an electrifying player who attacks the rim fiercely, and he's a great athlete. Tremendous athleticism on the basketball floor, but I don't know enough of how he interacts within a locker room. What we're going to find out. But I do like the personalities and the leaders on this team. I think it could be a good fit for Ja. Meaning, especially if those reports that I've gotten from people close to the situation in Memphis are true, where he's doing a better job of, being mindful of who he hangs out with, his inner circle. Well, you get him in the locker room where he's trying to make strides. Guys like Dame and Drew Holiday can be a tremendous impact on him. Denny Avdia is, terrific with people and the way he communicates. I think there's a lot of good personalities that could mesh well with a guy like Ja, who's looking to be reborn and get that second chance. And it could be a situation, too, where not only are the Blazers getting good upside in that deal, with Grant and Chris Murray going to Memphis, and then in return they get Ja Morant. But if, like a lot of athletes, right, when they're kind of written off or you count them out or they're considered damaged goods, it could be one of those prime situations where Ja's going to come out looking to prove that he can once again recapture that stardom. And if you get a guy who's motivated and locked in and focused, they might get the best of what Ja has to offer this year, which would be cool. But I do like the personalities and the people on the team, that locker room, in terms of being able to deal with a player like Ja who's had a checker past. Good personalities, good people. So I'm excited to see that and how it develops. And outside of that, you've got good leadership with the experience adding Triano to the staff and then Mike Nori. And that's one thing I think we'll see, from Mike Nori and the players is that you're going to have guys who are going to be, really locked in and focused, which is cool. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Here in a few minutes, we're going to kick it over to World Cup coverage, and you'll be able to listen to Team USA and Belgium battle here. The coverage starts at 4:30, but the game will start at 5. We'll be back Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3, and then tomorrow at 5 o'clock we'll have the Hops Ticket Tuesday. We'll have 4 tickets, a 4-pack for the Rip City Radio Row there in the new ballpark. And again, big thanks to Seth Hoyland and the Hops for treating Travis and I to a wonderful afternoon yesterday at the new ballpark, which is spectacular. All right, big thanks to Michael Shacker, City Drive Cup Soccer with Team USA and Belgium. And then we'll be back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3. Soccer with Team USA and Belgium. And then we'll be back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3 right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.